So I had this story that I was going to read. Basically, I had a dream, and this is my dream. It starts out in an Old West factory town, and it's really far away from all the other towns. This town makes gunpowder. The factory produces some of the finest gunpowder in the whole country. Now, there's a man who owns the factory. He's named the gunsmith. That's what we're going to call him. Now, the gunsmith is a very wealthy, but also very generous man. He makes sure that everyone in town has a job, that everyone is always taken care of. And if you fall down hard on your luck, he will make sure that you get what you need to survive, to keep going. But it comes at a cost. Basically, he, the gunsmith, gets all of the greatest things in town. The nicest house, the best horses, his clothes are even fancier than other people's. He is just the creme de la creme. So, as we see this town from a distance, a carriage rides up. A new man, new to town, has rolled in, and he has the horse-drawn carriage unloads all of his boxes and crates, big vials and jars and cases of all sorts of crazy-looking things. They get all unloaded, and the first biggest building that you see is the bar. And after a long day of hard work at the factory, everybody goes to the bar. So, this new man walks into the bar, looks in, and the very first thing he sees, right in the middle of a bar, is a glass box from floor to ceiling. It is made entirely out of glass. It's four-sided, and it's filled to the brim with dollar bills, just chocked full of money. In the front is a small slot. It's about like that. It's a slot that you put your dollar bill in. You could put your hand in if you wanted to. And the man looks at this inquisitively. So he goes over to the bar, and what he sees is the ugliest barmaid ever. This woman is absolutely the ugliest person in the entirety of the town, maybe the whole country. Her skin is broken and scarred, and she's sweaty, and her hair is ragged and dry. Her limbs and her frame are frail. She's small and just almost like you could snap her. She walks with this horrible limp. Her leg got injured when she was a young child. And she is just ugly. Ugly, ugly, ugly. Everything about her is just disgusting. And so the man walks over to her, taken aback at first, but then he looks her in the eyes and asks her genuinely, "What's the big glass box of money for?" And she says, "Well, to make things easy, lots of people show up all at the same time, so we just have them put $1 in the box and then take their beer. So just dollar, beer, dollar, beer. So it's fast, it's simple." And he says, "No one's ever tried to take it? No one's ever tried to steal it?" And she says, "Oh, no. The gunsmith makes sure that everybody in town gets what they need, so no one's ever had to steal. No one needs to. It's just there." And so the man understands, asks for a beer, and then asks the woman politely, "Can you direct me? I have a friend who lives in town. He built me a house. You see, I'm a medical doctor, and I produce medicines. I make salves and ointments and cures." And so she says, "Oh, you're the medicine man. Yes, it's your new house is just down the road." So the man finishes his drink, heads outside, picks up all his things, but before he leaves, he goes back into the bar and talks to the barmaid one more time. He looks at her and says, "You know, I like you." And he looked her deep into the eyes, and he saw what I can only describe as pure desire. Even though she was the ugliest person he had ever seen, he knew that there was something more deep inside. So he asked her, "Can I see you again, in a more private setting?" And she said, "Of course, I would love to," because she liked him too. He was interesting, and so he went on his way. Several days later, he had met up with this girl several times, and she had grown fond of him, and he had grown fond of her. So they decided to continue on this road, and he began making a meal for her every single day. Twice a day, he would make her a fresh lunch. She would come by in the mornings, pick it up before she went to the bar, and then in the evenings he would craft her a fresh dinner, healthy and beautiful and fragrant and flavorful, and everything he did was just for her. And they fell deeply in love very quickly. So much so that every evening before she went to bed, he would rub salves on her face so that her horrible skin condition melted away. And from the healthy eating, her body became curvy and voluptuous, and her hair grew long and straight, and became full and bodied and moist, and everything about her increased tenfold, so that she went from being the ugliest person in town to being the most beautiful person in town. So much so that even each night, before she went to bed, he would wrap her knee gently and massage and caress it, so that she no longer walked with a limp. Everything he did was out of pure love for the person he knew she could be. Not who she was, but who she could be. She found that very quickly all eyes turned to her, and she became the most beautiful woman in town. But everyone in town knew that the gunsmith got the greatest things in town. The gunsmith started to desire this barmaid. So he came in to the bar one day. Now, the gunsmith is a big man. He's made sure lots of people in town are very happy. He is the big man in town. And he walks right up to her, and he asks her if she would like to be with him. And she says, "No, I'm with the medicine man. I really do want to be with the medicine man." He'd never been turned down before. The gunsmith always got what he wanted. He made sure that everyone was happy, so that when he asked for a favor, he would always get it. Now he was upset. Now he was going to get her. He was the only one who was going to have the barmaid. So he went to the medicine man's house, and he said to the medicine man, after throwing several things down on the ground, "I'm not going to stand for this, and you better get out of town, or I'm going to have some serious problems with you." But the very next day, the barmaid had her sack lunch, and the gunsmith saw the medicine man. How did this not work? He had always gotten everything he wanted. Now he was going to have to take some drastic measures. Now, the gunsmith was still the newest man in town. Even though he'd been there for several months, even though he had provided a reputation, he was still the newest man in town. And so the gunsmith hatched a scheme. He said, "I'm going to take all the money out of the box in the bar, and I'm going to blame it on the gunsmith. And I'm going to blame it on the medicine man, so that he will seek rebuke from the rest of the town." And he carried out his plan. It was flawless. He had several men go in, take all the money out of the glass box, bring it back to the factory, pack it all up neatly, and hide it away so that no one would know. It was all done in secret, all at night, so that when the barmaid got back to the bar the next morning and found the box empty, she was taken aback. Only she had the key. Only she knew how to get in. Well, she had spent some time. It was possible that the medicine man could have gotten the key, or Well, seeing as the gunsmith did own every building in town, he might have the key. So, why would the gunsmith take it? He was the richest man. He didn't need the money. So she asked the medicine man, "Did you take the money?" And he says, "No, I love you. I would never do that." He didn't need it. But still, everyone in town thought it must be him. And he did. He sought rebuke. Everyone in town rebuked him. And he was nearly thrown out. But on the very night, he's decided, I'm going to make my way. So, as the gunsmith walked out of the bar, drunk, hoping that this would be the night, that this medicine man was gone forever, he was taken aback, knocked down, and pushed into an alley. Between two buildings in the darkness, a man with a hood stood over him, and he felt stabbed, almost like a knife. But it was too small, it was sharp, and he didn't bleed. The next morning, the gunsmith awoke, sick to his stomach. Everything about him hurt. He was in so much pain. He began vomiting violently, bleeding from his eyes and ears. He was uncontrollable, out of every orifice, so much so that even his nice house, his nice clothes, and his horse wouldn't even carry him. Everything he had was just torn. From the inside out, he felt absolutely destroyed. And he walked to the bar, nearly crawling, in pain and agony. Every orifice. Naked, he walked through the doors, crashing, falling down. Violent expulsions from every part of his body. He looked at the barmaid. Sickened, he pushed her against the glass. A chain wrapped around the whole glass box, still empty from the day before. He stands back after he locks her tightly to the glass box. Lights a fuse on a stick of dynamite, drops it in the slot. Kneels down, falling beside her, still vomiting, bleeding, everything, every orifice, just expelled. And that's when I wake up, and the dream ends. Hope you enjoyed it.